Outer Worlds 2. Let's go. Let's go.
If Star Trek is the optimistic dream of what humanity could become, The Outer Worlds 2 is the nihilistic nightmare of what it probably will be. Thankfully, both make for highly entertaining material to explore, and this second run through Obsidian's corporate dystopia is a significant step up from the original, with a story that's more grounded and interesting, significantly more competent combat, and an irresistible RPG grind. I had a blast putting my fist through the Kafkaesque final frontier alongside a cast of memorable companions.
Thus concludes a thoroughly distasteful business.
Even when a weak
Sheesh.
first act and some truly terrible enemy variety made the going less exciting. Across the more than 65 hours my completionist playthrough took, I fought with myself over moral dilemmas, giggled at absurd world building, and brought several would-be dictators to their knees. That's exactly what the for-profit space doctor ordered.
The Earth Directorate is
Yeah,
here to
well,
fight
thing about me, I
for
love
the
space.
rights of
I love
all
space and
mankind.
sci-fi shit. So this is right up my alley.
The Outer Worlds 2 is a good old-fashioned single-player open-world RPG in the same vein as Dragon Age, Fallout, and Avowed. As a follow-up to 2019's The Outer Worlds and a sorta kinda follow-up to 2010's Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian is at it again with a very similar blueprint here. It lays out a new dystopia to shoot your way through as you level up. Grab every piece of loot within reach, and solve all the galaxy's long-standing problems
loot,
in no
give me the
time at
loot.
all. It's not the most novel concept, to be sure, but it's one I love that we simply don't get enough of, and it's pulled off better than the vast majority of recent attempts. This sequel returns to a wonderfully satirical alternate reality where unfettered capitalism has conquered the stars to turn majestic celestial bodies into tacky outdoor strip malls. Though it shares the same pessimistic vision for the future, it ditches the first game's halcyon system for a different part of the galaxy called Arcadia, with a fresh batch of planets for you to single-handedly decide the fate of. More prominent than the new planets to explore, though, is a distinct shift in tone. While there's still plenty of goofy jokes and ways to make your trek through corporate-owned space completely absurd, this sequel is much more interested in telling a grounded story, one that focuses squarely on the politics of Arcadia's various factions and repeatedly forces you to make judgment calls on which of these deeply flawed organizations is the lesser evil.
Okay.
That bet on more serious topics and the delicate balance of warring political entities is one that pays off, and I found myself genuinely torn by who to side with and even frustrated by my inability to appeal to the better angels of these selfish, power-hungry monsters, which is exactly what I look for in these kinds of make-your-mark-on-the-world games.
This war zone is not your playground.
When The Outer Worlds 2 is putting the political jockeying front and center, it's sick as hell, and without question has some of the coolest world building and satisfyingly perilous moral dilemmas I've seen in some time. But it takes its sweet time getting there, mostly focusing on this conflict in its second half. For the first half of the story, you'll instead prioritize a humdrum revenge quest I cared about so little that I actually forgot it was even the first act's main focus by the time I reached the credits. In fairness, they
So it
do
gets
use
off to a
this
slow
early
start.
time to introduce you to the principal movers and shakers in Arcadia while you seek vengeance, which sets it up for a much stronger second act. But the first 20 hours or so felt like the main story was quite slow and unengaging. It does rally if you can hang in there for a bit, but I wish it was more consistent throughout.
Much appreciated, Commander. Promise, I won't be making a habit of pulling skeletons out of my closet.
One area that is much more consistent is the absolutely gripping RPG climb, which sunk its teeth into me from moment one with a near constant stream of interesting choices about who my character was and how in the heck he was going to be able to save the galaxy. With only 2 skill points earned per level to spend across 12 skills that make you good at everything from leadership to lockpicking, you've got some serious decisions to make about what you want to excel in. This becomes even more stressful once you take a look at the enormous list of perks, which can only be unlocked if you sufficiently bought into the relevant prerequisite skills. That includes things like the ability to pickpocket others, which only becomes available to those who have leveled up Sneak, or another perk that allows you to sell increasingly unbelievable lies as you improve your speech skill. You're only allowed to buy 15 of these bad boys before you hit the level cap of 30, so planning out your ideal spacefaring badass and making sure you've got the skills you need to get the job done becomes very compelling, and I found myself hungrily looking for enemies to kill and side quests to complete to feed my XP habit. But
Yeah, I like games with this type of depth to it because it gives you a variety of ways to get it done. I keep repeating this. I keep harping on this point when I see it come up in these games, that I love when the game gives you all the tools that you could possibly need to beat the game, and it lets you choose the tools you want to use to beat the game in whichever way you would like to. So it all depends on how the story's going. If you see things going a certain way, all right, I'm gonna have to pickpocket this guy. All right, I'm gonna have to lie to this guy. All right, I'm gonna have to fight my way through. So I'm gonna have to get these weapons and get my whatever up, dexterity or whatever I gotta get up. So I'm loving it.
Best part of this power climb is how it manifests in unexpected ways in the form of flaws. The Outer Worlds 2 tracks the things your character does in search of certain trends, then provides opportunities for you to lean into those quirks by offering benefits that come at a cost. For example, if you tend to steal a lot, you might be offered the kleptomaniac flaw, which allows you to sell all your stolen goods for more money, but also makes your character steal things automatically from time to time, which can get you into quite a bit of trouble with the locals.
That's a nice drawback.
If you skip through a lot of dialogue, you'll be offered the foot and mouth syndrome flaw, which gives you bonus XP, but forces you to choose all your dialogue options under a very short time limit before choosing an option for you randomly. Each of these has pretty massive implications on how you play and are irreversible, which can lead to all sorts of hilarious mistakes. Even when these choices went on to haunt me for the rest of my playthrough, I couldn't help but love them, and if anything, it made me excited for subsequent playthroughs where I could learn from the error of my ways and perhaps stumble across some new flaws to saddle myself with. Like its predecessor, you spend most of your time exploring the wild frontiers of untamed planets while staring down the barrel of a rifle and/or stabbing jugulars. And this is an area of significant improvement since the last time we were let loose in the setting. While the first Outer Worlds was mostly passable when it came to combat, this sequel manages to level up to generally enjoyable, with snappier gunplay, improved mobility that has you sliding and double jumping around, and most importantly, an arsenal of weapons that feels much better suited for the gloriously goofy sci-fi setting. I found so many weird and unexpected weapons with unique effects, like a stealthy shotgun that fires shots completely silently and instantly melts its target so bodies can't be found. And another weapon that started out weak, but leveled up as I scored kills until it was an absolute beast, which also made me want to rewatch Solo Leveling.
Yeah, Solo Leveling was dope. That shit peaked.
There are a ton of ways to customize your weapons and armor with loads of mods you can buy and craft. Those do things like reduce your damage output overall to gain explosive rounds, or better protect yourself against a certain elemental effect, and this is without me going into some of the truly bonkers and unique options that I won't spoil here. They really do a lot more to make your rewards for exploring and completing quests more interesting and befitting of the silly world around you, which makes all the difference in the world. The biggest letdown with combat is definitely the enemy variety, which usually features 2 or 3 types of wild animal on each world that you see way too much of for several hours at a time, alongside your standard humanoid enemies and a few robotic foes here and there. You'll encounter a whole hell of a lot of Raptidon creatures from the original, for example, and I found myself extremely sick of seeing them before I'd even left the first planet, much less by the time I entered the final stretch and was still running into them. It's pretty disappointing that in a galaxy filled with so much promise, there's practically no surprises in terms of the adversaries you face.
I guess.
Speaking of running around,
I've seen that be like a common thing with like a lot of games these days. Like when they skip out on something, they usually skip out on enemy variety. Like they either skip out on the environments or the enemy variety, which is crazy because those are two things that like you're gonna see a lot, like especially in a game that's focused on combat. Like you're gonna see a lot of enemies and you're gonna be traversing through a lot of environments. So why skip out on that? I don't know.
The Outer Worlds 2 has 4 main destinations, each with their own particular vibe, usually dictated by whichever faction has controlling interest, from the monk-like temples hidden in the snow on Cloister to the busy backwaters in the jungles of Eden. Exploring each is a lot of fun as you kill stuff, learn about the world, recruit new members to your party, and feverishly check off every quest on the map. I felt like I was always finding someone interesting to talk to, or some loot just out of reach for me to puzzle through. All of that usually made for a good time, apart from the previously mentioned enemy repetition. Plus, The Outer Worlds 2 follows in the footsteps of Avowed with enemies that never respawn, meaning each map eventually empties out as a result of you killing them, which does make for a very feast and famine situation. Though a great fast travel system at least limits how noticeable that becomes this time. Just like real life, a story-focused RPG is only as good as the companions who follow you around, judging your every decision. And this is one area where The Outer Worlds 2 most improves upon its predecessor. The 6 mostly memorable characters you befriend and travel alongside each stand as a representative of the respective organization from which they hail. For example, Tristan, a heavily armored brute, serves as the group's cop, eager to carry out his authoritarian government's twisted form of justice on pretty much everyone you meet.
During our investigation, I gauged your trustworthiness and did not find it wanting.
While Inez, an entrepreneurial combat medic, is constantly reminding you of the virtues of the so-called free market enterprises she grew up with.
I put 2 and 2 together. Law, that was a bad morning.
Like Mass Effect and Fallout before it, this tactic of making your party members serve as mouthpieces for each of the world's factions is incredibly effective. It both immediately makes each companion's worldview crystal clear and also helps you understand the powers at play and the philosophical disagreements that become pretty important for you to know as you start making decisions that massively alter the balance of power.
You can't possibly be party
Okay.
to all this.
I'm
Not
smelling-
with
I'm
her
smelling
vast
an 8.
misdeeds
I'm
so
smelling an
readily
8.
apparent.
Let's see.
The Outer Worlds 2 doesn't try to rewrite Obsidian's RPG playbook, but it's yet another strong refinement, with smoother combat, diabolically compelling build crafting and loot, and a story that immediately made me want to start again to see an alternate outcome. The sluggish first act and lack of enemy variety make it a bit of a slog at certain times, but once its story of political intrigue kicks in and the new flaws and perk system gets its claws in you, it can be quite hard to put down. All these improvements put The Outer Worlds 2 that much closer to being the Fallout New Vegas successor we hoped the series would be, and that's worth
Okay.
getting excited about.
Brace.
8. Told you. I'm
For
knowing.
impact.
I'm knowing.
Executive
Yeah.
Reviews Editor.
So yeah, I'm gonna just go right into it. Just gonna go right into my little 1-2, and then we get up out of here. The Outer Worlds 2. So, it looks like another "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" kind of vibe. You know, compared to the first game, there's a lot of depth and variety in how you can get through its story. The reviewer said he spent 65 hours. He did a completionist run, so that means he got everything in the game. And I know it's a point that I harp on a lot in these videos, but it's something that I like about video games where they give you all the tools you need to do it, and you can use the tools in any combination to get the job done. They don't pigeonhole you and force you to play one way. Some things I didn't like that I saw is like the lack of enemy types and the lack of the lack of enemy types for the most part, because I feel like when games skip out on something, it's always that. It's always the enemy types. You run into the same 5 or 6 enemies throughout the whole game, and that's the only thing that annoys me about it. But I'm definitely gonna check this out. Yeah, so y'all let me know how y'all feel down in the comments, right? So you already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.